What's going on, Workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we're going to dive into kind of a question that's really important, especially as today is the day of FanFest. Who is FanFest for? Whether you're a new player or a vet, we want to kind of give you all the information, where you can find more about what is happening over the course of this weekend, and really just in generally both inform and give some kind of discussion and context to the events themselves. Now, what we'll have in the description of this video is we'll link to the content you'll find by us. Chris is going to be live on Twitch. I'm going to be live on Ginger Prime, 6 p.m. Central Time. That's when our content kicks off if you want to join us, whether on Twitch or on YouTube. However, also in this video, we'll include the links to all the non-work to gamified stuff, the direct feed. If you guys don't want our faces in commentary, no worries. Go check that out, and hopefully you have a good FanFest. But Chris, that's a really good question that chat brings up, that you bring up. What would be your answer? Who is FanFest for from a new player's perspective? Why should they care about what's happening this weekend? And then you could also, and then we can kind of cover the veteran side in the after that.
So this video is brought to you by the fact that we're going to be giving lots of stuff away during FanFest. We're going to be giving away lunar whales. We're going to be giving away lunar whale coasters. We're going to be giving away work to game stickers. We've got, I think, got a couple of complete editions of Final Fantasy XIV. We've got a ton of stuff to give away throughout stream. No purchase necessary. Just come hang out in stream. And I think it'll have to be the Twitch stream during the giveaway, but no stuff. Purchase. You'll just have to enter a keyword to be entered to show you're there, and I will mail it to you anywhere. I think somebody said today, whether or not you receive it, work to game will ship it. And so if you live in somewhere like North Korea, I can't promise it'll get there, but I'll put it in the mail. I will pay for postage.
And he's going to show up on some kind of list in the FBI.
It'll go somewhere. And so what is FanFest, first of all? For anybody that's been coming in this week, there's been a lot of new players as they have all these ads advertising the critically acclaimed Final Fantasy XIV. There's been a lot of people downloading the free trial to their PS5s, to PCs. We hope one day to Xboxes. FanFest, first of all, is the hype event for Final Fantasy XIV expansions. That's all it is. It is not ongoing coverage of the game in that we only have them building up to expansions. They're not every single year. There's 3 of them in sequence historically. This time we're only getting 1 because of COVID, that we had a showcase as a first half. It is only for Final Fantasy XIV, which means it will not cover Yoshi P's work on 16. It will not cover the other supported MMO 11. It will not cover other non-numbered titles. It will not cover other Square Enix titles such as Outriders or Avengers. It is uniquely 14. It is a hype event where it is going to begin telling us about the expansion. It's a chance for them to have Q&As, a chance to look behind the scenes with developers, voice actors. There can be cosplay competitions. There's sometimes a live letter for the current patch. It is a hype event around the expansion and the time between that event and the expansion. So that's what it is. So as a player that is in the game, it becomes really easy to see why that's exciting. Mm-hmm. As a player that's maybe thinking of returning, it's fairly easy to say, okay, this tells me what's coming. But as players who are in the game and aren't at endgame, and maybe aren't sure if they're going to be at endgame when the expansion gets here, what is it for them, Brian? What would FanFest be if you were not at level cap?
A few things. It's a carrot on a stick. Here's what people are playing. Like you said, a PR, a massive hype event. This gets IGN. This gets all the big media outlets. This gets everybody who's been fringe, everybody who had maybe tried the game in the past, just like your guy you gave, Gil away today, away for 7 years, and you show up and he wins, and boom, here's 1% of your wealth in game. Like, hey, welcome back to 14. It gets all of those things happening, and they're already happening now because with the announcement from Endwalker's announcement, then it's just this kind of slow building momentum. This is kind of that, hey, things are moving along, work to game. All the Final Fantasy XIV content creators are excited about it. They're making content about it. Discussions happening. Now let's light a freaking big ass dynamite stick behind it and let's send it to the moon, quite literally. And that's kind of what this does. This kind of kicks off full trailer, more details, pretty much kind of give this is what the game's going to be. Obviously, there's still stuff that they'll reveal out over the course of the summer. We'll have, E3 coming up. We'll have the media tour presumably coming up, which they kind of give more details. That's where we get for the vets, for the people who actively what's happening to my job. That's what we'll be looking forward to. But what this does is it gets everybody talking. Now, overall, the dark undertone to this video is that this is happening completely virtually, where in the past we've all gotten together. FanFest is a great time for community building. It's a great time for the workforce to gather together at a location physically in the world and have alcoholic beverages at a responsible level. Some people maybe not so much, but at the core of it, the goal is to get together and celebrate this game and this community that we love, to come together and say, you know, it's been so long. So the hopeful undertone in all of this is at the next FanFest. And that's where I think things are going to get crazy, because that's where we're going to be able to hopefully finally all return from this isolation to gather together, to get together and have like that community building aspect. So everybody's trying to do that over the course virtually. Discord, I think, is going to be a huge impact, a huge asset for everybody hanging out. We probably try to find ways to integrate that more. But yeah, it's also, my last thought, it's also kind of like a milestone. Like whenever things kind of happen, it's something that you will remember. You will remember what Yoshi gets up on. You will remember these moments, and it's fun to kind of look back on it. But I pose the same question to you, Chris. Like, what is this one to you? Because the goal, like, we actually are, like, I don't know if we ever shared this in video, but our original goal was to go to FanFest. Like, we were making videos and be like, how cool would it be to just go to FanFest together? And that happened with the last one. So
it was the first goal that Work to Game had. Work to Game started as just us recording our conversations. Mm-hmm. And the moment it generated a penny, even though that penny was representative of an amount of effort that was not a good idea. We could have had a minimum wage job that was much better. But the goal, the moment that it was clear that Google was going to send us an ad check for Work to Game, was, what if this allowed us to go to FanFest?
Yeah.
There's only one FanFest in North America every other year. What if 2 years of ad revenue here on YouTube paid for us to go to FanFest, or paid for enough of FanFest that we could afford to go? And that was the objective. And that was kind of the carrot on the end. And so it did. It paid for our tickets, and it paid for our flights. And we stayed in a room together, and, two queen size beds. And before we even asked, hey, do you snore? I don't know. We can only afford one room. This is the amount of ad revenue we have. It didn't pay for food, but maybe next time the workforce is covering our food stipend as well. And that was an immense amount of satisfaction that was behind going to that event, because it was such a milestone for us internally. And so for each person, it's a different thing. Maybe you've always wanted to go to a Comic-Con. Maybe you've always wanted to go to BlizzCon. I know for me, Blizzard was in all sorts of heat the year that I got to go to my first BlizzCon. And the BlizzCon as an event was something that was relatively lackluster compared to previous years. And so I was with people who'd been to every single one, and they're like, I'm so sorry this was your first one. Even when we went to FanFest, there was aspects of FanFest where you were like, I'm so sorry this was your first one, because compared to my previous ones, this one was maybe not as exciting. It doesn't matter. It was my first one. And so there is kind of a bummer this year that, like, there isn't that physical thing where some percentage of the crowd, this is their first time, or their first time to meet their free company mates, or their first time to, it's an immense thing to bring something that we've all done digitally into the real world. And FanFest is a unique chance to do that. And so it's kind of a bummer to see that go away.
More point on hiatus in my mind rather than go away.
I think that the community has done a neat job of trying to, I know we'll be trying to, in our small part, do something on Twitch to make it unique and memorable for people. Mm-hmm. I know that the community as a whole, I know they've reached out and they've done this trivia thing that sounds like it was pre-recorded with some creators, and they're making the best of this situation. We'll get another round of these in 2 years, and hopefully the world will be in a less apocalyptic state. And so for me, FanFest this time is meaningful because this is my first FanFest after going full-time as a content creator. This is my first. And so for me, and my last time was my first FanFest as a content creator and my first FanFest period. So like a lot of firsts here because they only do them once every 2 years and a lot has changed. So for me, it means a lot because it's my first time going to an event, even digitally, that this is what I do for a living now, which is something I never had in the plan. Mm-hmm. It was never in the cards. And so for me, it means something in that way. when I had a chance. I filmed a collab with Frosty on gaming kind of a while back, and he mentioned as the response to a question that he doesn't necessarily play 14 all the time for him, that there's times that if it was just the game, he would probably have taken a break. But the community keeps him so excited for what this game can offer and what's next, that the community can fuel him through those times. And now he's got an interview out with Yoshi P where like he mentions that like he has this gratitude for the community. And it's an amazing time for us to reflect inward. I think reflecting inward all the time would be unhealthy, but it is nice from time to time that FanFest is a chance for those of us that 14 has probably taken on an amount of our life or an amount of our focus that maybe our loved ones think it's a little weird. It's a great time for us to look at that community and say, but you get it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's good for us to have a little bit of that self-love every 2 years as we build towards what's a really exciting time for people, whether it's their first time into the game or they've been playing since 1.0 beta and this is just another expansion under their belt.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, what I'm looking forward out of this, to look at all the like the silver linings in what this is that I'm so excited from the Sage reveal from the healer and just the fervor behind what this new melee job could be has me excited. It actually has me excited to the point where depending on we talked a little bit in our video yesterday about how summoner changes and the impact there, like depending on what they do there, like I have absolutely no plans on playing summoner today. And first, at least, like typically that's always been what I've done, but I'm literally going like totally. I'm probably going to pick up the new melee and do that, then do Sage, and then have the new jobs kind of, play them, have a great time with them, learn them, guide them out. And then I start looking at the leveling process for the other jobs by role. And that's exciting. That's actually, it's like such a whole thing. Like what's new, what's different, right? Benny and I, we filmed a video while you were on vacation. And one of the things that we kind of talk about is like, just that like doing this so long, you kind of have an idea of what's happening. And right now for me, I'm just trying to find new things to kind of change it up. Like there's beauty in the stability of it. There's beauty that we know we're going to get a keynote this weekend. There's beauty that we know we have the schedule, but there's also the surprises. Like the surprise that the devs are working on and our reaction is the gift we give back to them. And this is our opportunity, not just as content creators, this is our opportunity as a community to say thank you. We are so excited to play. It's our opportunity to be excited, to share that excitement. That excitement, as opposed to hype, fuels the devs. Like when we're excited, they get excited. They want to make the best game possible. The devs have proven time and time again, they'll go work on other things. They'll go spend their personal time to try and deliver something for us because that's what they love to do. And that excitement we give them is that fuel. This is different from hype, where hype can bite us in the butt, where we start setting expectations that are unrealistic. Like, we're not only going to the moon, but we're going to Mars, baby. Nobody said anything about Mars. Pump the brakes. Like, don't worry about that. Don't even stress about, like, what possibly is going to change. Because, A, we're really not going to have an impact on it. Just sit back, enjoy the ride up to release, have the release come, be ready with feedback, and go from there. But I'm really excited to have that, to give them my excitement, to share my excitement for what this game will mean for the next 2 years, at a minimum. The pattern is pretty set, and so that's going to be something that I'm looking forward to sharing overall. Now, I will say this. If Aransos, if we cannot wear hats, if that is still a thing in Endwalker, I'm going back to my Elzen, okay? Like I was like, I'll have done my 2 years as a lion, and I'll go back to my old model if I cannot have hats in the new expansion. That's the one expectation.
You hear that, Square?
You hear that?
If you do not spend money developing, Brian will spend money buying a Fantasia.
Actually, I got Fantasia. I still have Fantasias they gave me. I just
he will give you money if you don't spend money.
You hear me? How dare you? Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Chris, you got any final thoughts? Do we want to wrap up today's video?
No, it's an exciting time to be a 14 player. It's an exciting year. My wife and I took a 4-day weekend just for us this last weekend, kind of preparing for a 10-day sprint here. And she was asking me when we could take something longer, when I could take like a week off and we could like work on something in the garden, or we could go somewhere. And I said, well, I really need to know when Endwalker comes out. Like, this is the big event. This is the one thing this year that has a question mark date on it that drives my calendar. And so I'm really excited to in theory get a date.
Yeah.
I assume at the end of the trailer, at the end of that'd be my guess, at the end of the keynote opening trailer.
If it's the month that I think it is, I think I know when it's going to happen because I'm taking Julie on our anniversary vacation. So
I believe that you
like,
might be missing
the
launch.
and that will be okay. That will actually be okay. I wouldn't mind actually coming back and
Yeah.
enjoying the game, and as everybody, like, being completely cut off and stepping back in and be like, wow, I'm so excited to come back and play. We'll see.
So I'm really excited. It's an exciting time to be a 14 player. Whether it is your first day in 14, you're just downloading it right now, or you are somebody that's taken some time off, or you've been here and you feel like you've done everything you could possibly want to do in this game more times than you wanted to do it. An expansion has something for literally everybody. And it's just a really, really exciting time that we get every other year that's bigger than the already consistently large content patches when you compare them to other games that may or may not be getting the support they've wanted lately. It's easy to forget in our little bubble how lucky we are. It's easy to understate how important it is that they just consistently put out patches on time with something to do. That I would love to live in a world where that was not the bar by which we held critical success, but we don't. And in MMOs, it is really easy to forget how amazing it is, the consistent communication we get from the devs, the consistent effort we get from the devs, and the consistent results that we get from the devs. And if you really feel bitter about what we get, then I would encourage you to take a break, go play one of those other games, because I have a feeling we'll see you back when you realize how lucky we are to be treated the way we are.
I think that's a good thing, a good message to send off. I see chat asking some interesting questions. We'll probably have to hang out and engage with those questions here in a minute. But thanks for everybody who tuned into the video. If you guys aren't again aware from the beginning, we're going to be live on Twitch, 6 p.m. Central Time, rolling into the event, and we're going to have a blast. Hopefully you can come hang out with us. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. But for Work to Game, my name's Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. We hope to see you next time. But until then,
take care.